Hi children, we are here with yet another poem, that is I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud, which is written by William Wordsworth. So let's see, what is this poem all about? I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud is one of the most famous and best loved poems written in the English language. It was composed by romantic poet William Wordsworth around 1804. Though he subsequently revisited it, the final and most familiar version of the poem was published in 1850. The poem is based on one of Wordsworth's own walks in the countryside of England's Lake District. During this walk, he encountered a long strip of daffodils. In the poem, these daffodils have a long-lasting effect on the speaker. Firstly, in the immediate impression they make, and secondly, in the way that the image of them comes back to the speaker's mind later on. I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud is a essentially romantic poem, bringing together the key ideas about imagination, humanity, and the natural world. Let's see the poem. I'll read the paragraph and then would explain to you simultaneously. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. So here the poet is telling, the speaker is telling, who's walking alone, finds a solitary cloud in the sky, floating over hills and valleys, and suddenly the speaker sees a long and bustling row of daffodils. They are near the lake and the trees, and flutter and shift as they are blown by the breeze. Vales, which means valleys, host, here it means many in number. So the poet or the speaker sees a number of golden daffodils on his way. He sees them beside the lake and beneath the trees, and they are dancing with happiness with the help of the breeze. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. So here the poet is telling, he's comparing the daffodils to stars in the sky, the number of stars that are there in the sky. The speaker notes how the flowers seem to go on without ending alongside a bay. Here the poet says, he guesses that there might be almost 10,000 or so daffodils, all of their heads moving as they were dancing. Milky Way is a group of many stars, including the sun. Sprightly is energetic and lively. So the daffodils or the flowers were tossing their heads in so much of happiness, energetically and lively. You can see the picture which shows the golden daffodils, beautiful golden daffodils. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. So the poet is saying, near the daffodils, the waves were glittering, they were all shining on the bay, but the daffodils seemed more joyful to the speaker than the waves. A poet couldn't help being cheerful, says the speaker, in the cheerful company of the daffodils. The speaker stares at the daffodils excitedly, without yet realizing the full extent of the positive effect of encountering them. Here, jocund, which means merry and cheerful, and gay also means being happy and merry. So the picturization which I have shown you over here, it depicts about the jocund factor, that is being merry. So here are the synonyms of jocund, that is jolly, gay, mirthful, joyful, joyous, lively, jovial, happy, cheerful, and festive. So these are the different synonyms for your word jocund. Coming to the next stanza. For often when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills, and dances with the daffodils. Oft is the short form of often. Vacant means you're not thinking of anything serious, so the poet is not thinking too much. Pensive, who is in deep thought. Inward eye means one's mind. Bliss is in complete happiness. Solitude is being alone. So here the speaker says, after the experience with the daffodils, the speaker often lies on the couch, either absent-minded or thoughtful. It is then that the daffodils come back to the speaker's imaginative memory, and access to which is a gift of solitude, and fills the speaker with joy as his mind dances with the daffodils. So this is what the poet is trying to express himself in this poem. So here the poet says that, which is one of the significant examples of romantic poetry, I wandered lonely as a cloud explores the relationship between nature and humanity. In doing so, it makes two key points. Firstly, it argues that humanity is not separate from nature, but rather part of it. And secondly, it suggests that the natural world and a strong bond with it is essential to human happiness. So, though the reader might be fooled by the suggestion of solitude in the title, this is an optimistic poem with a positive outlook on the world. So, that's what the poem is all about. I wandered lonely as a cloud. So, after the poem is done, children, please do read the poem from your side, from your end. Write the poem in your notebooks, in your classworks, and solve the textual exercises. Okay, so just to verbally discuss the textual exercises. What has a poet compared himself to in the first line? The poet has compared himself to a cloud. Where did the poet see a crowd of daffodils? He had seen a crowd of daffodils beside the lake and beneath the trees. Third one, to what in the sky has the poet compared the countless daffodils? He has compared it with the shining stars, the number of stars that shine. Okay, coming to the next part, these lines from the poem and answer the questions. Tossing their heads in sprightly dance. Do you think the flowers were actually dancing? No, they were not actually dancing, but they were moving because of the breeze. What does the poet mean by sprightly dance? The poet meant that they were very happy and were dancing energetically and lively. What wealth the show to me had brought. Is the poet talking about money here? No, the poet is not talking about money here. If not, then what kind of wealth is he talking of? The poet is talking about the wealth of happiness, the wealth of solitude or bliss that he happened to feel when he was around with the daffodils or with the nature. That's the wealth he's talking here about. Think and answer. What does the poet compare the host of golden daffodils to? The poet is comparing the host of golden daffodils to the Milky Way. Whenever the poet was in a pensive mood, what would make him happy all over again? The memory or the past or the memory of the time spent with the daffodils is what used to make him more happy. Okay, so that's all for this poem. We'll come back with the next chapter. Until then, see you, bye bye, take care, keep yourself healthy and happy. Thank you.